Been one of those days.
When you don't want to wake up. Everything is.
Everybody sucks.
You don't even know why.
Couldn't even justify. Rip someone's head off.
Limp Bizkit?
You don't
I don't know Limp Bizkit.
You don't know Limp Bizkit?
Fred Durst.
Nope.
Fred Durst
Kirsten Dunst.
Fred Durst has a white beard and,
I know, it's weird.
and wears a tracksuit now.
It's weird.
So then if we had Caden here,
Hi,
would
Kaden.
we'd have the
either.
next generation of lyrics and music, which would probably
yeah,
be
that
rap
would be-
music and stuff. It'd be like,
that
oh
would
my
be.
God.
Yeah.
That's my impression of what rap is popular now.
Oh, really?
It's awful.
I don't know. I don't listen to
worst.
that.
Sometimes I don't have a
rarely listen to
choice.
music.
Lauren, do you want to welcome us to My Mama Done Told Me?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Welcome everybody to My Mama Done.
Welcome!
You always tell me not to yell.
Because you don't need to. Why are you talking so quiet?
Because I was trying not to yell. I feel like when I do introductions, I have to go, welcome everybody to My Mama Done Told Me.
Go ahead.
Welcome everybody to My Mama Done Told Me. My name is Lauren. I am here with Jeff.
I'm Jeff.
Meine Bruder.
Meine Bruder.
And the Meine Moody over here, Mama.
Hello.
Meine Mutti.
That's me.
Hello. Hello, Mutti.
Hello, Moody.
Moody.
Hello,
Hello, Moody.
Fatty.
Hello, Fati.
It's
Here
not
I
a-
did.
Can't
Cradati. I don't know.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about today?
Well, today is episode number 26.
What? That's 13 times 2.
Whoa. Quick math. You could be full of
teacher? Oh, wait.
full of hooey and I wouldn't even know because
if you do.
I can't do quick math. Never could.
No, you couldn't. Do you remember all the times that we had those?
You made me feel so stupid
I
sometimes.
didn't mean to make you feel stupid. It was repetition. Math facts.
But I feel like I remember the phrase, "How do you not know this?" coming out of your mouth.
Because
Mom?
we've done it 5 million
Mom?
times.
I don't know, and it hurts my heart.
I don't know
I'm
how.
sorry. I don't know how.
It just doesn't come to my brain. Anyway,
Guys, stop fighting.
well, here's the thing. Everyone said, well, you're not going to walk around with a calculator in your pocket all day, are you?
What we all do, don't
We
we?
all do. We have the entire
We
internet on
do.
our pocket. Some of us even have it attached to our wrists
Yep,
and
right here.
glasses, and people have the, the, what do they call it? Google eyes?
Googly
Googly eyes.
Great googly moogly.
Great googly moogly. Okay. Well, in episode 26, we're going to talk about advice. Yes. Okay. What would you consider the best piece of advice you have ever received, and who did you get it from? Who wants to go
I
first?
do not want to go first this time.
I can go first. I know
Okay.
mine.
Lauren,
Yeah?
what would you consider the best piece of advice that you've ever received, and who did you get it from?
Well, mine came from a book. Is that...
Yeah, no, do it.
okay.
I don't care. Whatever advice you...
Okay, well, so mine came from a book, and it's something that I think I've actually mentioned on this podcast before. You sound so disappointed. What? Why are you acting like all hoity-toity?
Because I told you I was going to sit up straight for this episode, and when I sit up straight, it makes me feel like I'm being
You have to be
hoity-toity.
hoity-toity if you sit up
Yeah,
straight.
sit up straight. Don't you feel
No,
hoity-toity?
look, my head's out of this frame.
Don't touch my feet.
Jeff, yours is almost out of the frame too. I'm
Okay, so
sitting up straight as I can. This is hard to sit up straight in this chair.
I know, these chairs are not made for that.
No, they're not.
All right, Lauren, are you going to tell us your advice? Or are you
no,
going to just
are you
sit
going to
there?
quit being hoity-toity?
I'm not trying.
I know you're not trying.
Uncomfortable. Okay.
Okay. My advice comes from one Don Miguel Ruiz.
You have never mentioned this before.
Yes, I have. It's a book called The Four Agreements.
Oh, I didn't know the name of the thing.
Yeah, the name of the author. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's 4, but the one in particular. Why are you giving me that look?
Because I'm trying to throw you off.
Well, it's working. Anywho,
Hoosier.
it is don't take anything personally.
Anything?
Right. And here's the advice. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. So, there's that. That's the best advice, and I try to keep that in mind anytime I get my feelings hurt. I try to remember that it's not about me. It's something else going on. And now, I mean, if I am super bleep this, if I'm super shitty to somebody, then maybe it is about me, but then I need to do some self-reflection.
Right.
But most of the time when I feel hurt, it's a lot of times people don't mean to hurt you. It's a way that they react to things or whatever.
Yeah.
But I try to keep that in mind and not take anything personally.
That's pretty good advice. I take a lot of things personally.
I know, but it's not good for us to because it's
But it
because a
hurts.
lot of times I know, but a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with us. It has more to do with the person who's lashing out or that is doing the hurting than it does with anything that we've done or haven't done or whatever.
Thanks, George Pierre Martinez.
I don't remember it though. Don Miguel
Don-
Ruiz.
You should
Don-
get his name right.
Don Cor-
Don his thing.
Don Miguel Ruiz. And the other agreements are be impeccable with your word, which
Oh, I
goes
like
back
that.
to the lying episode that we did a few weeks ago. Don't make assumptions.
You know what they say when you assume.
Yeah, it makes it out of you and me.
Whoa,
That's the truth.
That's the first time I have to bleep mom.
that's true.
I was thinking donkey. I wasn't
you
thinking.
weren't.
Yes, I
No, you
was.
weren't.
I
I'm
was.
beeping
I
mom.
was.
And the 4th one is always do your best.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good.
It's a great book, and you should all read it because it's really good
4
advice.
Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Okay. Should I go now?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple that I've thought of.
Okay.
Since you went with a book, I'm going to do the one from a book as well, but it's not from like a help me book, a self-help book or whatever.
Help me book.
Yeah, that's what they kind of,
Kind of. Okay.
it's from A Song of Ice and Fire,
Oh.
the Game of
Game of
Thrones
Thrones.
series. Yeah, and I believe it was in the Game of Thrones book. Mom, you've been
GOT.
scrolling on your phone this
No,
whole
because I'm
episode,
trying to
and I
find
feel like
something. I'm
you're,
listening.
You're like not paying attention
I'm
and not
listening.
present
I'm listening.
in the moment.
I am present in the moment.
You're present in the moment.
I am.
I'll wait.
I know. I'm just trying to get where I need to be.
She's trying to get where she's going.
Okay.
You never know where you're going till you get there.
Thank you,
have to
Larry
say
Human.
There.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still do that when I stretch.
Yeah.
We all do, don't we? Yeah.
I
No,
don't.
I
I
don't.
don't.
You will know.
Probably. Okay, so
Probably.
A Song of Ice and Fire,
Yes.
there was a character named Serial Pharrell, and he told Arya that fear cuts deeper than swords. And she always remembered that. I feel, and I've used that so much in my life. I don't know why that has stuck with me. I always thought it was a good way to think of life because more often than not, the fear of doing something causes more anxiety, more pain, more struggle than the actual thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about anything you've gone into. More often than not, when you're afraid of it, just remember that this is probably the worst part. You know, when you're
Yeah.
anxious or you're or anything.
Or like envisioning what could go wrong.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
Because
huge.
you're making something in your head that may not never
Yep.
happen.
Yeah.
Yep. Making a mountain out of a
A
molehill. Yeah.
possibly.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's one of them. I have another one that comes from a person in my life, and not real close to them, but it came at the right time for what I was about to do, and that actually was my cousin Nick Bizzari.
Wow. Okay.
He had gone through Navy boot camp before I did, and had started his Navy career like real shortly before I did. It was probably like 5-6 months before me.
Yeah.
And I remember he called me on the phone, or I called him or something like that. And he told me, and I've given this same advice to everyone who's talked to me about joining the military or the Navy or anything like that. He said, just remember it's all a game. Play the game. Don't win the game. Don't lose the game. Be right in the middle, but play the game. Everything that they say to you, everything that they do, and I use this not just in the
Right.
military.
Just in
was-
real life. Like
it was very helpful in boot camp and then in the military afterward, because if you think of life kind of as a game, or so for boot camp, it's more they're yelling at you, they're playing a game, they're going to break you down, they're going to, find
They're trying to
something
push
wrong.
you to every limit you
Right,
have.
right.
Yeah.
So, but play the game. Remember, like you said, it's not personal. It's not anything. They're going to find a reason. You're not, but don't stand out. Don't stand out the best. Don't stand out the worst. Now, in life, that's not quite the same. You want to do the best you can
Right,
and
right.
all that. But in that instance, it was, you don't have to win. You don't want to fall behind. Find somewhere in the middle and stay there.
Write it out.
find a happy
Write it
medium
out.
and
Right.
just
So I really liked that advice from Nick, and I know
cool.
it was more toward boot camp in the military, and it was very relevant to that. But I often think about that when I'm going through hard things.
Well, I think
Mm-hmm.
you could apply that even like in a job interview and stuff. A lot of what's going on between that employer prospective employer that's interviewing you, they're playing a game too. I
Yep.
mean, if you can, and you can play the game back, and that doesn't have to be lies or anything like that, but you're just maybe
strategy
in the
or
mindset
whatever,
of
yeah.
saying what they want to hear
Yeah.
Right.
in
Well,
the way
and-
you can and still be true to yourself.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
like what you just said, because how do we play games? What happens when you play a game? You strategize.
Yeah, you have to think
Right.
ahead.
You
have
you try to think ahead, you try to anticipate what's going to happen.
Right.
You try, maybe just to or cooperate with the other people, or when it's applicable, you're working in competition to other people. But remember, no matter what, it's still a game. This thing going on is not that important. It may be very important, but
That's all subjective to what's
Right.
going on, right?
Right.
But
So
for
I
the
re-
most part, it's
yeah, I really liked that
Yeah.
advice, and it kind of stuck with me. So yeah.
Nice.
like it.
All right, Ma, let's hear what you've been Googling
Well, I have
over
two.
there.
Well, I had one. I thought I only had one, and then I should know that you guys are going to get philosophical. I was being very practical,
We know.
like I usually am, literal and practical.
But
But
we don't all have to do the same thing.
no, I know.
Just
So
be
now I have two. So I'm going to go to the Bible, and I'm going to say Matthew 22 is the best advice I've ever had, and comes from Jesus. It says, "Love
That's a
the
pretty
Lo-"
good.
That's a
Pretty good. What's the word?
Source?
Source. Thank you.
yeah, good source. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's great advice.
It is.
I mean,
The golden rule, right?
basically,
Yeah.
do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Treat people decent.
that kind of
Absolutely.
that also comes from Matthew. So anyway, cool. So that's the first one. And I could have come up with a lot of other ones from the Bible that are also good advice, but this one always comes to my
Yeah,
mind.
that one
to my
stands
mind.
out.
It's a real good base. And the other one is very practical, parental.
Yeah.
And I think it was my old boss. I'm having a hard time remembering because it would have been way back when you were little. So that's decades ago.
Oh my God. Okay. Treat others
Decades.
the way you would like to be treated,
Decades
Mom.
and decades. But I remember her saying, and I've used this advice to tell other new mothers, that regarding like bedtime routines and all that kind of thing,
This was going to be mine, but I thought maybe you would.
do not start
Yeah.
doing anything that you don't want to continue doing for
Yep.
the next 16 to 18 years.
Yep.
And that is such good advice.
It's great
So
advice.
if
And
you-
I tell people that are in a new relationship
Yeah.
that all the time.
Same thing.
Don't start something you don't want to continue doing, because
Yeah.
if your partner gets used to you being
Yes.
that way, I mean, it's just like
I had-
kids are a different level, but it's the same type of a thing.
Right.
And I use that with our bedtime routine. And Jeff, you've talked before about bedtime was a special time for you. And you liked, I enjoyed our bedtimes just as much. But I made sure that I made those bedtimes something I could enjoy with you and not hate going in there. I had a friend who had to rub her little boy's back until he fell asleep.
Yeah.
And sometimes that was forever, and she was doing that when he was in middle school.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Still.
gosh. That is
Can't
crazy.
go to sleep unless mom comes in and rubs my back. And I just think that's the greatest advice. It's like, think
It
it
is.
through first. Is this something I want to keep doing every day for the next
Yeah. 18,
18 years or
Yeah.
16 years or whatever?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good advice.
It was very good advice.
Yeah. Here's a piece of advice that my wife tells people, especially when I'm trying to think of the scenario. I think she's told this to like new mothers and really anybody that wants to listen. It's kind of a funny one. Go to Costco or Sam's or somewhere like that, or anywhere, and buy a stack of paper plates and a couple boxes of plastic silverware and use them sometimes. Save yourself
That's a
the dishes.
Great idea.
Like treat yourself from time to
not
time
having-
to not have
Yeah.
the dishes.
Yep. Yep.
I know
That's a
that
good one.
that's
It's practical.
silly little advice kind of, but it's real.
Yeah.
Well, what
When
that
you-
does
when
is
you
it just loosens the
does.
reins. It loosens the reins. I don't have to set a table every
Right.
night. We
Right.
can throw everything in the garbage when we're done.
Right. Yep. From time to time, we're just gonna. I don't want to dirty up a whole. We just cleaned the kitchen, and so we're eating on paper plates tonight. Cool.
yeah.
Go buy some bags of chicken nuggets and put
I
them
personally
and
probably could do that every day,
Right.
right.
but I don't do the dishes, so
Right.
it doesn't bother
Doesn't
me.
matter.
Yeah.
matter so much.
Larry does the dishes.
But if
When-
I did,
We have quite a bit of time left
Yeah.
here. Do we have any other little things like that? Like,
I have one, I think. I was thinking about this. I think about this a lot when I see families with teenagers and mom and dad are both working. And I remember back to when we were at that point where you guys were younger and we were both working and we'd get home. And I remember making it so that everybody had a night to make dinner. And I think that is a really good habit to get into. And I think it's good advice to give other people to say, you've got teenagers that could create that meal, whether it's, like you said, frozen chicken nuggets or a frozen pizza, or which is, I think, what you guys did sometimes.
Yeah.
But you also came up with actual recipes before. I
Right.
remember some really good meals that you guys came up with, and give the mom and dad a break
Yeah.
to say they don't have to think of what's going to be for dinner. And I know Larry, my husband's, his night to cook was always, we got to go out.
he said,
Which was fine.
If it's my turn to decide what we eat, I'm gonna pay for us to eat
Yeah, I'm
because I
going to
don't
pay
want
for
to cook.
something.
Right,
I'm not
yeah.
cooking.
Yeah.
But I think that's, just such a great routine to get into with your family because it not only helps mom and dad from having to think about it, but it also equips them for later on,
Yeah,
for when they
that's
have to
true.
do it for themselves. So
That's true.
You know,
I don't know if that's advice, but that's
Sure,
kind of
why
a
not?
thing.
So kind of in that same vein, if I could give, there's two pieces of relationship advice that I've found myself giving to people. Mostly, I mean, I know I'm a newly married, a year and a little bit, but I've been with Nikki for a bit. Told people that are close to me or that I see in their relationships, and I always say it very gently, of course, but there's two things that I have learned in this relationship is, especially in public, but even in private, be your partner's biggest cheerleader. All the time. All the time. And because I feel like it becomes really easy to get so comfortable with somebody that you maybe razz them or
Treat them like a sibling
Yeah,
rather
you-
than
you-
your partner.
right.
Yeah.
And it can get to be, especially if you're someone like me who sometimes maybe doesn't know when too far is too far or doesn't notice it until afterwards.
Right.
If I constantly remind myself, it becomes second nature to say, no, especially out in the world when people are looking at us or when I'm representing myself and my family, there should be nobody in this room that is lifting her up more than me
Yeah.
all the time.
Right.
She should know beyond a shadow of a doubt that when we walk into this room, I will not make her feel small. I will not make her feel, betrayed. That the only thing coming from me is going to be uplifting.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from knowing that there are a lot of people out there that don't do
Yep.
that.
Right.
And so that's a big one for me.
It is. And I that's funny that you say that because just today across my Facebook feed came a little blurb on Jimmy Stewart, the actor.
Yeah.
And his wife, there was a little article about his wife saying that she never ever had one bit of jealousy or concern. He played with some pretty awesome leading ladies, including
Right.
Grace Kelly, who was probably one of the most beautiful women ever in Hollywood. And she said whenever he would be in these movies, he would treat her even almost extra kind when he had all these wonderful leading ladies. And she asked him one day why he did that. And he said, I never, ever want you to feel like you're not the most special person in my life. They were married for 65 years. And he
incredible.
was a
Yeah.
Hollywood star, big
Right.
time.
That's
So
very
it's-
rare
yeah, it's
for
very
anyone,
rare.
let alone that in
Let
that
alone-
world.
Yeah, exactly. So I always loved him and always thought
Yeah.
I wanted to marry Jimmy Stewart, but
Too bad.
I missed it. I missed out.
No, you did better. You got Larry Human.
Yeah, I did. I got Larry Human.
Yeah. That
But
that
I
to
think
me
that's
is,
awesome,
is a
Jeff.
big
Yeah,
one.
that is
And
good.
and I that really got nailed down because early on in my relationship with my wife, I made a joke at her expense in public in front of people we all cared about. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't like
Right.
what you'd consider like, dude, WTF,
Yeah, why would
mate,
you say that?
Like it was just enough. And I felt her energy change. And when we got home, I told her, I said, I never want to do that again. Like, I am so sorry
Yeah.
because that is so far from being the person that I want to be.
Right.
And I've seen my friends do that to their partners because it becomes something where you're almost so comfortable that I want to be accepted or cool or whatever in this group. The safest person to do that to is the person that it's the same reason kids give their parents, the runaround a lot because that's the safe person.
Right.
I don't want to hurt her heart.
Right.
So that should not be my go-to.
Right.
Right.
I might razz Lauren. But
What's up?
that's
me.
a back and forth thing.
Right. Well,
But-
and that's like to be expected for siblings. But I think when
Right.
because when you grow up with siblings and that's kind of the way you are,
Mm-hmm.
once you get comfortable enough with somebody that you're living with now, that especially like, once you get comfortable enough, then it starts to feel more like you're able to kind of be like,
Yeah.
and then until that happens,
And
where
there's a
you
time
can
and a place
feel
for
it and you're
that,
like, okay,
I think.
all right. Well, and I think there is too, but it's definitely not in front of people.
It's not in public,
yeah.
and it's not.
And it's definitely guarded.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You can
There's
do
a
it,
line.
but there has to be a line
Yeah.
because then it begins belittling or
Yeah.
something like that. Then it's very hurtful and
Right.
it's hard to mend.
Yeah, and
is.
and that's definitely not
Very
something.
wounding. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that you can almost watch your relationship get better if that is something that's always in your head. I should always be that person's biggest cheerleader
Well, we talked about
and
the
vice versa.
right,
Because
we-
if she's being my biggest cheerleader, if I walk into a room and she is, talking to someone about who's razzing on their husband and she's like silent or I can't relate, like that's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So public and private.
right.
Yeah.
But that's like when we were talking about the love, when we talked on the love episode, and we talked about the love is patient, love is kind, love is not self-serving, love is, all those things. That's exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about treating her that way, and then she's treating you that way. And that is going to do nothing but build your love for each other.
Absolutely.
It's not going to.
And bolster that relationship.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
totally solidifies.
Yep. The other quick piece of advice that I think I have that I think means a lot in my marriage, and everyone's is different, but it's funny because I had a conversation with a guy that we all know today at work, and he's got a very traditional mindset about some of the gender roles and whatnot in the household. And in my household, we try very hard to keep it as equal as possible. And what I mean by that is we have an even amount of days where we cook dinner. For example, that's what made me think of this. I have certain days of the week. She has certain days of the week. And we have a day in the week where it's a fend for yourself day. You
Right.
do whatever you want. And those are flexible. No one's going to get mad if I go, I do not feel like making dinner tonight. She doesn't get mad at me. She says, all right,
I'll just figure something out.
I'll figure something out. We'll fend for ourselves or let's order something,
Yeah.
and vice versa. She says that too. And like, I don't have it in me to make something. Okay.
Yeah.
What are we ordering? It's fine. But it is my responsibility to make sure the family gets fed that night.
Right.
And same with the dishes, same with other chores around the house. I think the only chore that doesn't get shared is mowing the lawn. That's mine. But I actually don't mind doing that. So I do it. But most everything else, if you can get away from the traditional mindset of that is this person's responsibility to do it, unless you as a couple or as a group or whatever have decided this is something I will just take care of, and that's an agreed upon and thing. Don't assume that something else is someone else's
Right.
issue, and don't expect them to do it. I know this isn't an episode about relationship advice, but it's advice, so whatever.
Yeah. The blanket.
As soon as you have an expectation of how and when someone does something, if that's not a reciprocated thing, then it becomes really tumultuous. Like we've heard of relationships where the one partner gets really annoyed with the other partner because they don't wash the dishes in the way that they think they should or as quickly as they think they should or whatever. And it's like, well, I was going to do it, but now you're getting mad and that, those sort of things. And maybe I'm rambling a little bit, but I don't want her to get on my case for something. So I'm not going to get on her case for something else. And we know that. So if it's really that bad or really that bothersome to me, then I will do it, and I will do it with a good attitude, and I'm not going to throw things around. I'm not going to, because more often than not, I do that. The task is done. I feel better. She feels better, or vice versa. So I don't know. That might be irrelevant to what we're talking about, but I feel like there's a lot of relationships, especially where either the man or the woman, or however the family is divided,
Yeah.
has an expectation that something, either by how they were raised or by
Yeah.
what happened in their house when they were a kid, or whatever, that this is supposed to be
A certain
the
way.
other person's responsibility.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a real dangerous way to start a relationship, especially. And then, like you said,
You know, start it.
if as soon as you start it, it's the way it's
Yeah.
going to be.
Yeah.
And it's hard to change.
Hard to
then.
change. Yeah.
And we went through some changes after Larry retired, after we were both retired at home all the time.
Yeah.
Then it kind of that really became a little more obvious, you know, like,
Yeah.
okay, now why do I have to keep cooking every day? And you're not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we worked it out. I mean, then
Yeah.
we were going to,
And that's a hard thing to,
Yeah.
like you said, a hard thing to break.
Yep.
If you've been doing it one way for 30 years.
yeah.
whatever.
And now
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you're gonna
Situations
do it
change,
different.
and then-
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you just talk it out and adjust, and everything's good.
Anything else? Any little pieces of advice, sister?
The only other one I could think of is kind of silly. It's
Good.
It can be silly.
Let's
That's
end on
good.
a silly one.
well, I mean, I don't know how many people it'll actually relate to, but and I don't know where I heard this. It was
You can
probably
pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
That's right,
wish
I know
that's
that
what
one.
it was. I wish that's what it was, but it's not. No, mine is like it's kind of mundane, but it's just and I probably heard it on
Don't
like
count your chickens before they hatch.
No, we listen.
I've been
Don't
trying.
put all
just-
your eggs in one basket.
What? There's a lot of chicken advice.
Yeah, why is there so much chicken
Why'd the
advice?
chicken cross the
it was
road?
probably
I was gonna
on.
say that.
It was probably on BookTube or Bookstagram or.
Bookstagram. Is there really a Bookstagram?
She's so mad. I just turned her down. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Anyway, it is that if no matter how far into a book you are, if you're not into it, just
Stop reading it.
don't read the rest of it.
I love that
I
advice.
do
love that advice
too.
too.
But it's hard
Wow.
to do.
I can. I can do it
so
really
why did
difficult.
that? Why did that like make me feel so validated for some reason?
Just stop reading it. Just
I've
don't
done it.
DNF it. What is that? What it's called? Did not finish DNF.
I don't.
Put it in your
DFF. Don't
Put it in your
can
DNF
finish.
pile.
Do not finish.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
I think it's good advice because why waste your time on something that you're not enjoying?
Right.
I did that with Pride and Prejudice. I hated that book and I finished it. Why did I do that? Who cares? It's not like I go around going, "Well, I read Pride and Prejudice."
Have you read Les Miserables?
No.
Oh, but
I
that
have
is a
no
good book.
desire. I don't
That's a
have
good
any
one.
desire to read classic books.
Oh, that's a good book.
There's some of
hate
them
it.
I feel like I want to read, and then I start reading them, and I go,
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. No,
"But have
thank
you read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein?
I don't, but it's
Good."
it's on my TBR, and I actually have
TBR DNR.
I
Yeah.
think that's really good
Do
advice.
not
Lauren.
resuscitate.
DNR.
I think that is good advice.
It is
It
good
is.
advice. Don't waste your time on a book or a movie or a TV show
Yeah,
or
I mean, I was going to say it can go to anything.
that isn't serving you.
Can I add a little bit to that
Sure.
though? But give it a try.
Yeah.
Don't stop after the first page.
Right. Yes.
Because
yeah.
a lot of times
Yeah.
it takes a few chapters to
But if you're like, you know, a
struggling.
few chapters in or even
Yeah.
halfway through and you're like, gosh, is this ever going to pick up?
just stop.
Just stop.
So to our listeners, give us the best advice that you have ever received and give a shout out to who you heard it from or what book or what TV show or your mama or your
Papa.
sister, and tell us if you think our advice was awful advice.
No,
Yeah, none of
mine
it
wasn't.
was.
It wasn't.
No, it was good advice.
Yeah. If
Okay.
you want to tell us, you've got to email us. And that email address is,
My mama done told me podcast@gmail.com.
why are you laughing?
Because when you said that, immediately in my head, the Spice Girls started singing. If you want to be my lover,
You gotta get with my friends. Making us forever. Friendship never ends. I'm gonna get my name. Anyway, Mom, where,
down the mollies all around. Somebody around all
Mom,
Yes.
where can they find our social medias?
On the show notes.
On the show notes.
Show notes.
Our social medias are in the show notes. Anyway, we hope you keep your minds open and be kind to each other. And we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
friends. Love ya.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye, kiddos.
Bye. Me. See you later. Bye. Want to be my lover.
You gotta get with my friends. What does it mean to get with my friends?
I think you just need to get with them. Like, you need to be cool with them.
If you want to have intercourse with me, you've got to. Well, it's if you want to be my lover.
I hate that.
You've got to hang out with my friends
Make it last forever.
and make it last forever, because that friendship never ends.
Yep. No, we had macaroni and cheese with hamburger and onion and I can't think with my brain when you're doing that. Stop. I know you better than that because you're gonna. Anyways,
Oh my gosh.
we had and it had chickpeas in there too.
Oh, yum. Sounds good.
Yeah, it was good.
I like macaroni and cheese. I am so hungry.